Thank you, Sandra. Well, few pieces of Americana evoke such passion and pride as the Constitution. George Washington was instrumental in its creation. During his first year in office, he was given a copy specifically printed and bound for him. It was 1789. It is up for auction at Christie's on Friday, but we have it here in our studio. There it is, along with Chris Coover of Christie's, and you can't have a Constitution on the set without inviting the judge. What do you Judge, how are you feeling?
Oh, if I can only have this in my own collection.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, this is amazing that this is actually going up for auction, and you're expecting, what, $2 to $3 million?
$2 to $3 million is the estimate.
But I thought that some of George Washington's other paperwork went for at least $3 million. You don't think you're going to get more than 3?
Well, it's good to be cautious in such matters. It's a very appealing piece, though. Remarkable survival. It's utterly unique, and all of those bode for a good outcome on Friday.
Tell us who's selling it and how they came to own it.
It's being sold for the estate of Richard Dietrich, who was a Philadelphia area philanthropist and collector.
Judge, what does this mean to you to have this? I mean, this is his personal bound copy. There's notes written by him.
Right. There's also his signature. I don't know if the camera can get this. I promise not to touch the page, though I'd love to. There's also his signature right on the title page. This is actually the acts of Congress passed in the first year, and of course that would include the Constitution itself. It would include the Bill of Rights. It actually has parts of the Bill of Rights that were not ratified by the states. So even though there's only 10 amendments that we call the Bill of Rights, this has 12, 2 of which were never ratified.
What did they call for? What would they have guaranteed?
Well, I'd have to look at them again.
They're very technical, and they were right to delete them.
I see.
Isn't it true at the time, I'm sorry, but isn't it true that at the time when this was written, if you go back in history, Judge, and you know this much better than I do, that they were trying to protect themselves from the crown, from the King of England. They didn't want to have our democracy resemble what had happened in England, and
they didn't want the guy who signed this, George Washington, or any of his successors to become a king. And that was the reason that the Bill of Rights is added. In fact, when the Bill of Rights is added, it's not even contemplated that it would apply to the states, just that it would apply to the federal government. Eventually, the Bill of Rights would apply to the states. This is a profound historical
That's the way we feel about it, too.
Well, Chris,
it's been an honor to handle.
Well, why? I would have thought it would be this kind of parchment rolled up at the top and the bottom, and you unscript it. And how come it's bound in a book like that?
Well, this was the official record of the first session of the first Congress, and the size of the edition we don't know. There may have been 100 copies printed, but this is still the only one Washington owned and annotated.
Right.
What is so interesting is that Christie's was established in the 1700s. The same year that this was actually bound for George Washington.
A nice coincidence.
So this is not the Constitution as it was originally written or signed or disseminated to the states for ratification. This is a printed copy of it after it came into existence, printed for the President of the United States, the first president who signed it. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to help sell it, but this is something that I will never have this close to my fingers again, or anybody else who loves the Constitution. And I won't touch it, Chris, trust me.
Chris,
this much.
Forgive the rudeness of the question, but shouldn't you not be touching that with human hands at all? Why isn't that thing hermetically sealed inside plastic?
His fingers are pristine.
That's right. It's easier to turn pages with clean hands than it would be wearing white gloves.
Do you have any sense of who the buyer on Friday is going to be? I know you have a lot of international clientele at Christie's. Do you think this could be heading overseas to Saudi Arabia at the end of the day?
Well, curiously enough, in 2009 we sold a marvelous Washington letter about the ratification of the Constitution for $3.2 million, and that went overseas. It's not a likely outcome, but it is a possible outcome.
I think the judge is ready to bid. I can see it in his eyes.
I need a new contract, Mr. Ailes.
Chris Coover, Judge, and Napolitano, of course. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch, Dennis.